but it's been great. It's been harder than we expected, and some bits are easier, but with 2 people on watch, it's really tough. Only getting a 3-hour window to sleep is pretty hardcore. It catches up on you. So we're gonna be pretty excited to get to Italy and hang out and get some rest. But it is very nice out here. It has been a great trip. Okay, it's the morning of day 3 and I just had a great day. Like the sun was out, the seas had calmed, it was just great sailing conditions. Cheryl was asleep, I had a podcast on, I was just hanging out on the deck, just enjoying the sun, like really enjoying the sailing. Morning! Check it out, we got friends. It's been a while, on our own for days. Okay, 52 nautical miles to go. I guess a lot of stress kind of comes off once you're past halfway and you start getting closer and closer to your destination. Like there's a lot less stress, you know, because every mile you do, you get a mile closer. And if something goes wrong, it's, you know, a mile closer to help, I guess. You start to enjoy the rhythm of it, and the conditions were nice, and I just had a solid morning. Land ho! Just see it there. I think that's one of Italy's biggest mountains. Just got some gummy bears. But guess who won the bet? Neither of us. We're 40 nautical miles from our destination and you can see land, so there you have it.
Just having a rare old time.
A rare old time.
And there was a couple of things that we just started seeing as we approached landfall. Planes, we started seeing more boats. There was a big speed catamaran that came past us at one point. And the other thing was, it was a really wavy passage, so sitting on the bow and I'm just holding onto the railing, and then, you know, it's really crusty and it's just absolutely covered in salt. And then at that point, I think we'd kind of estimated that we would be in about lunchtime that day. But, you know, we had a few moments where we had to use the engine, we had to take the sails down a few times.
That same issue we've been having, constant engine issues anytime, especially on a starboard tack, which we were for that whole passage. If we're motor sailing on a starboard tack, we just suck air and the engine cuts out. So it was either like just motor or just sail off course at a slower speed. So we just sailed off course for hours, just because I didn't want to start the engine. I was being a bit grumpy with it.
As we got closer and closer, I was saying to you, is that smoke or ash coming out that?
Well, we're about 30 minutes away from the marina, which we haven't booked, and nobody's answering the radio.
Circulo Nautico Marina, Circulo Nautico Marina. This is sailing vessel Project Freewheel. Project Freewheel, over.
So I think we're just gonna slip in. I reckon there'll probably be somebody on the dock waiting, and probably just quickly find some Wi-Fi so we can let family and friends know that we're okay and we arrived safe. I won't say that we finish the passage just yet until we get feet on the ground, but Mount Etna is in the background and it's looking so cool. It's got little puffs of smoke coming out of it at the top. It's pretty crazy. What country is this now, Jobbo? This is country number 4 of the trip so far.
But it was amazing coming into Catania when it was sunset, and then seeing all the city lights, and then of course seeing some of the planes that were coming into Catania airport, and then some of the boats that were getting around us, and then as we got closer we saw some of the fishing boats, and I was feeling pretty unreal at that point. Even though it was only, you know, a 3 and a bit day passage, for us time was completely slowed down, so to start approaching, you know, the hustle and bustle of city life was, I don't know, it was quite
surreal.
Emotional.
Let's get Italian. Oh, mamma mia! What are you doing there, you joker? Get out of the way!
Get out of here!
Yeah, get out of here! Get out of the way! What are you doing? Mamma mia! Meatball!
I like a mum I used to make.
A Francatone!
A Gino Gianelli!
A Arrivederci!
How cool is this? City's all lit up.
We ended up deciding that we're just gonna motor into the port there and circle around and see if someone's on the dock to help us out.
Because it must have been coming into, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock or something like that.
On a Sunday night,
On a Sunday night, a guy shouts out, do you want a hand coming in? So we do, and it's the tightest space imaginable. And I have 3 goes at it. And then I just panicked because we're so close to the next boat, and the other guy just wasn't really helping that much. Either way, we were on land, feet on the ground, just couldn't believe it. We went for a gander into town. It was an absolute assault on the senses.
How cool is this? Boots on the ground in Sicily. Never been to Italy. And I guess
Exciting.
We were just overwhelmed.
We
couldn't believe it.
Yeah. After making this trip that, we always assumed we would make it, but it was never guaranteed. And then we finally get there, and we just get into town, and we go to cross the road. There's a pedestrian crossing there, and we walk up to it, and we're like, we go stand at the end of the street, and there's just cars like, whoop, 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 whoop. It's like peak hour traffic, and we're like, how do you cross the road again? You just fucking bend it? And cars aren't stopping for us, so we're like, and then we took a step back and we're all confused and like, how do we get across the road? They're not stopping for anyone. Then we see someone else just walk up, don't even look at the cars, they just blaze across the street, and then the cars all like screech to a halt for this pedestrian.
You can't dither, especially with the Italians or the Sicilians. There's a certain culture there of, if you don't take it, you won't get it.
That was it. We got some beers, got a burger, and
but we were like, we should
boat.
totally get a pizza, and then the first thing we scrambled for was a burger.
Yeah.
So we went back to the boat, like limped puppies, just so shattered, ate our burgers, and then
just
got
crashed.
a good night's rest, slept like babies.
Just crashed. It's been a challenging sail at times. I just wanted to take an opportunity to really do a massive shout out to Shell. She's been an absolute trooper. I mean, she jumped on board, essentially it was my idea to come sailing to get a boat, and she just really stepped up, got all the qualifications, learned it all. I mean, she's doing night passages on her own, absolute thug, got an ill on this trip and not complained once, just really put in a good effort and, tried to put the best foot forward. And yeah, she's absolute trooper. I just really wanted to do a big shout out to Cheryl. Love you, and really appreciate it. We're almost in Italy.
Yeah.
Alright, so what were the lessons learned, Jabba?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway was I just really failed to conceptualize apparent wind. Obviously it's something we know about, but when we looked at that wind before the trip on windy, and we knew it was going to be northerly to northwesterly, but then when you remember that your boat's sailing through it, and then that really brings the wind around farther. So I think it would have been a much better approach if we had of leaving Kalamata in Greece, come around that peninsula and tacked and headed right and farther up the coast, and then before making our turn into the open ocean, so we would have a better approach.
Yeah.
So I think maybe, in the future, if we, stump up the money and pay for predict wind, so it'd actually kind of give us a bit more information. So we're just looking at windy and made a guess, and
Well, everything just got kind of clouded a bit by continuously giving ourselves time constraints, right? Because I'd already said to my family and friends that we would be arriving at a certain time, and within a 8-hour plus minus window or something like that. But now we know.
something you learn.
Yeah, now we're experienced. I think the other thing we were discussing was meal prep, wasn't it? Now that we've done a couple of longer passages, we've recognised that, especially if it's an uncomfortable point of sail, you don't really want to be down in the cabin at all, or the saloon, and getting sloshed about left, right and centre. And you just tend to snack. You don't really eat full meals.
Yeah.
Because obviously the shifts are difficult with it being 3 hours on, 3 hours off at night time, so you're just kind of grazing most of the day, or not really eating at all.
Yeah, so, there's no real big sit-down meals.
No, or maybe we should do what Eric Andera does and get out the
breakfast cans.
Aye, the breakfast tin, or a tin of beans.
Just a
beans
tin of haggis. Tin of haggis, just tuck in.
Actually, that's not a bad shout.
A cigarette and a tin of haggis. Arr!
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that leads into, when I did cook on that, what was it, the second night? That I made myself seasick. Reef early. I cooked dinner in the galley, and we were leant over hard, almost dragging our rat. We were overpowered.
Yeah.
Let's just take a reef.
Yeah.
Just get the boat comfortable. Even if we lose a knot, you're only cooking for half hour, and then cook and then eat and then decide about your sail plan. So
Yeah, that's very true.
I must fly. And
Okay, so the highlights of the trip.
Yeah.
I would say I had a bit of a rocky trip. I didn't portray it all that well in the videos because there was a lot going on, but I was feeling pretty ropey that whole trip, and I think mostly it was just actually being a bit under the weather, which was then amplified by a very sort of rocky, wavy passage, whatever. And then there was other moments, amazing moments, where I'd just sit on the side of the boat while the seas were just sparkling like crazy. Just almost like, you know, when you go to a concert, you watch a concert on YouTube or something like that, and everybody flicks on their lighter and then starts, you know, swaying their lighter in the crowd. It glistens like that. It looks like a 10,000 lighters in the sea that are just, it's really, really, really beautiful. And when the engine's off and the sail's up, it's just so peaceful and calming, and it really teaches you to just sit and, you know, look around you and take in what Mother Nature has to offer.
Yeah, sea gazing. One other thing that it was really quite profound to us was like the cyclical nature. You know, your day starts with the sun in the east and ends with the sun in the west. And our whole passage, we were pretty much sailing dead west.
And then the moon rises.
Yeah,
and
there
then
was
the
a lot of moon rises.
The sun rises and the sun sets, and it's, you know, it's this idea of constantly being in motion. So, you know, you're in motion in the boat, the sea's moving, the earth's moving, and you can just actually visually see it with the sunsets and the moon sets and everything together. And it was kind of really, like you say, very profound. We had a couple of moments in the boat where we spoke about it and how it made us feel very, very small, but in the most wonderful way.
Well, and that was one of the other things. It's just being out on our own, you know, undertaking for us, you know, a pretty big passage, and, you know, planning it and thinking about it and, you know, training for it, and then taking little steps to get towards it. I know it's nothing compared to people crossing oceans and stuff, but for us it was our big first step. You know, it was really first dipping your toes in, and it was cool. I mean, it was just us, you know, had some problems, overcome them, and just charged across that passage. And still to this day I look on the map and you're like, that is a big bit of water.
Yeah,
you know, and
it's a real achievement. Like that sense of accomplishment and, you know, pure joy that we got when we started coming into Catania was, you know, unbridled. It's absolutely tremendous. You
know, after some time off the boat, I think it becomes more profound when people ask you and you try to explain it to them. And when you're on board and you're there and you're caught up in the sailing season, but now we've been off the boat for 6 months and potentially longer with what's going on, and so those moments become really powerful. They sit with you differently. Well,
that's what they say about type 2 fun as well, isn't it? That it's afterwards that you look back and you're like, wow, that was definitely a thing. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't been catching up with our last couple of episodes, you can catch up with those here. We are currently in our new step van that we just purchased as an alternative thing to do this summer. It's our Corona lockdown project, and as you can see, we are starting to make headway. Got the insulation up.
We've built a van before, so we're bringing some things from the old van that we liked, some things that we needed, things that worked, things that didn't. So I think this iteration is going to be cool. We're very excited, and we're going to share it with you guys. So
I guess that wraps things up. All right, thanks for watching.
Bye.
Okay, take 5 million.
Woo!
I'm still tripping out a bit if this is actually land that I've seen or clouds.
Oh, big GoPro shadow.